Welcome, folks, once again to another episode of the WrestleCord News Break. I'm your host, Ryan. It's May 17th, 2026, and let's get into some of the headlines in the world of pro wrestling and MMA. In relationship news, Io Sky and NXT's newest face, Noriko, have tied the knot. The former Io Shirai and Evil have a combined 33 years in the business, with Io debuting in 2007 and Noriko starting in 2011. The marriage was announced to the public by Io in a Twitter X post. AEW Collision was live from Salisbury, Maryland last night. Opening the show was a rather bizarre Trios title eliminator match with the champions Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly teaming up with a very non-champion in Mark Briscoe. They would, however, go on to get a big win over Ring of Honor regulars Lee Moriarty and the Infantry after Mark hit Sean Dean with a Froggy Bell and then the J Driller. The ROH Women's TV Champion Red Velvet challenged Willow Nightingale for her TBS title. Velvet fought hard, but Willow made decisive work of the woman who was straight out of your mama's kitchen, even taking a moment to mix it up herself before hitting a Dr. Bomb for the pin. Samoa Joe and new Ops recruit Anthony Bowens took on Ring of Honor regulars in the Lethal Twist, Jay Lethal and Lee Johnson. Jay and Joe have a long history as partners and foes in the ring. Joe at one time acted as a mentor to the Lethal One. This was a very competitive back-and-forth affair, but the Ops weren't going home empty-handed. With Anthony having something to prove to his new stablemates, he made Lee Johnson submit to a sick-looking wrist lock. A 5-minute title eliminator saw the women's tag champions, the Divine Dominion, go against GCW stalwart Allie Katch and Kaya McKenna. It didn't go 2 minutes before the tandem bomb from the towering duo spelled the end for Allie and Kaya. In more women's tag news, we'd see the return to the airwaves of Ty Mello. She would appear in a backstage interview alongside Ty J partner Anna Jay, who only 2 weeks ago challenged for Willow Nightingale's TBS championship after a significant layoff from television. So it looks like the tag division gets a little bit deeper. Elsewhere on the card, Mark Davis and Doggy Dogs, Clark Connors and David Finlay defeated the Rascals. It was a pendulum pile driver from Mark, followed by the full clip from the Puppies, bringing the bout to a close. Finally, in the big world title main event, champion Darby Allin took on the Spanish God, Sammy Guevara. For most of the match, Sammy had Darby's number, starting out early with a wild rolling senton off a ladder through a table in the entryway. Darby would, however, weather the storm, but he looked quite beat up throughout the match. This was, in fact, Darby's 6th title defense since winning the belt at Spring Breakthrough on May 15th. Despite the determination of Guevara, Darby was one step ahead, able to eke out the victory with the coffin drop after Sammy went crashing through an empty table at ringside with a failed 630 senton. Even though he came out on top, Darby looked quite battered. Could this be the beginning of the end of Darby's reign? He's going to put the title on the line against MJF's hair at Double or Nothing on May 24th in Queens, New York. The big MVP Netflix co-promoted card headlined by Ronda and Gina saw 2 main event bouts, with Nate Diaz stepping into the octagon with Mike Perry. Mike Perry has been making a name for himself recently in bare-knuckle fighting, while Nate has been making a name for himself at your local smoke shop. Both men did not hold back, but Nate was clearly outmatched. Perry was aggressively moving forward and left Nate drenched in blood. Nate never did give up, though, but looked gassed pretty quickly. A massive cut had opened up on the side of Nate's head and got worse as the second round came to a close with a big knee dropping Diaz. The bell to end the round would save Nate from further punishment, but once on the stool, the fight was called off by his corner as the cut on his temple could not be managed. Mike Perry seemed quite satisfied with his performance, as he should be. It'll be interesting to see what the future holds for Nate after another high-profile loss on his record. In the final fight of the night, Ronda Rousey returned after over a decade away from the cage to meet Gina Carano, who herself had been away from MMA for 17 years, and it really showed once the bell sounded. Ronda charged right in with a takedown, but Gina tried for a front chancery. Ronda would fight out and mount Gina, attempting to lay in some ground and pound before almost immediately switching to an armbar, which got Gina to give up the goat in just over 17 seconds of fight time. In quick undercard results, we saw Francis Ngannou defeat Philip Lins by first round KO. Saladin Parnarsi also ended it in the first round with a TKO over Kenneth Cross. Robela Stapagi, I'm sure I said that wrong, folks, defeated Junior Dos Santos again in the first round with a knockout. In prelims, Namo Facio beat Jake Babian by submission in round 2. Adriano Moraes submitted Fumi Nikuta by technical submission in what might be considered a controversial stoppage. Jason Jackson knocked out Jefferson Creighton in 22 seconds. David McGowan defeated Albert Morales by unanimous decision. Aline Pereira got a win over Jade Mason Wong via split decision, and Brandon Jenkins went over Chris Avila in another split decision. Major League Wrestling and World Wonder Ring Stardom have announced a strategic partnership. This seems to be very much in line with the agreements that other U.S. companies like AEW have with New Japan Pro Wrestling and CMLL. Stardom has a working relationship as well with AEW. Recently, it's been rumored that MLW is making moves to bring back its weekly show Fusion. Jacob Fatu, who recently main evented WWE Backlash against Roman Reigns for the World Heavyweight title, built a large part of his career in the MLW main event scene, being a long reigning World Heavyweight Champion there. In Night 3 results of New Japan's Best of the Super Juniors tournament, we'd have A Block Action see Titan defeat Daiki Nagai, Ryuzuki Taguchi meet Valiente Jr. after the match was stopped due to an injury to Valiente Jr. It's at this point unclear if Valiente will have to be pulled from the rest of the tournament. Last summer's G1 Climax suffered a similar fate when Gabe Kidd had to be pulled because of an injury early on. Also in the A Block, Francesco Akira went over Nick Wayne, finally giving the United Empire their first points of the tournament. Master Wato beat Robbie X, and Jun Kazai beat Kosei Fujita. In the B Block, Sho beats Kushida. Daisuke Sasaki won over Hayo. Robbie Eagles defeats El Desperado. Taiji Ishimori lost to Yo, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru got the victory over Jacob Austin Young. And with that, folks, we come to the end of today's WrestleCord News Break. I'm Ryan, signing off, hoping to see you all again tomorrow.